We're going to get the Howard County Drainage Board started. We do apologize. The commissioners' meeting went extra long tonight. It was about an hour and 20-minute meeting usually. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes. Tonight, an hour and 20. So we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll be passing around the minutes from the January 5th meeting to be signed. Are there any additions or corrections to the January 20th meeting? Any additions or corrections to the January 20th? If not, I'd entertain a motion at this time. So moved. Second. Get a motion by Mr. Allery, a second by Mr. Dodd. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those pass. Any old business in front of this board tonight? Any new business? Yes, we have HCDB 2601, the Stall Shank Regulated Drain Public Hearing. So I would entertain a motion at this time to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Byram. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Allery. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're in public hearing. We'll start the public hearing with any questions or comments from this board and/or Mr. Lake or his office.
So if there's no questions from the board, we'll go through a little bit of the history of the drain, our meeting at the town hall, and kind of how we ended up where we're at today.
Thanks for coming out, everybody. Just a little bit of information about the drain and the history.
Can everyone hear him?
Is it coming through?
Nope.
Nothing.
How about this one? Almost. Let me turn it up. How about now? Any better? Any better? I may not be dialing the right one. All right.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. If you were at the town hall, this is going to be repeated, but we're going to go through it here for the meeting. The Stall Shank Regulated Drain is located in eastern Center Township, southwestern Howard Township, and northern Taylor Township. It contains 23,340 feet of open ditch and 49,900 feet of drain tile, ranging in size from 36 inch to 6 inch. The drain and watershed stretch apart the east central part of the county, with half of it inside of Kokomo city limits. Tile portions begin as far east as 450 east and 200 south. And the drain runs north and west, receiving the Jacob Hennefit and A. Thompson regulated drains before it outlets into the Wildcat Creek between 931 and the US 31 bypass. The watershed contains 2,702 acres spread across 796 parcels. The drain itself was composed of the George Stall and Danielle Shank court drains and several tributaries which connect to them. The individual drains were first made into court drains between 1878 and 1895. The first major complete cleanout of the open ditch was petitioned by landowners in or near George Stall and Danielle Shank drains in 1957, was paid for by a special assessment to the landowners. The first assessment of the regulated drain was set in 1975, collected in 1976, at $2 an acre with a $10 minimum fee. Sections of open channel work were again bid in 79, 1980, and 91. Since 2005, we've cleaned sections of the open drain from the US 31 bypass all the way down to Pumpkin Vine subdivision and up by Rural Gardens subdivision. Most of those sections have been kept sprayed every 2 years to prevent the trees from coming back. Tile portion through Pumpkin Vine Meadows subdivision was replaced in 1980. Other tile portions of the drain have been replaced as problems have developed. But more recently, we've been battling beaver problems from Championship Park all the way to Rural Garden subdivision. We removed a collapsed bridge west of the US 31 bypass in, I think it was 2022. Replaced a culvert under 300 East, north of State Road 22 in about 2022, and realigned the ditch along 300 East south of 2022. But much more work is needed. After all that verbiage, I'm going to turn this over to Greg to discuss the town hall we had on December 4th.
So several of you were at the town hall meeting, and at the town hall meeting, the numbers were quite a bit different than what you received in the mail for this hearing. So we looked at the original outlook of this watershed was to fix it all. Okay, so we went through and systematically talked about every tributary inside the watershed, and just you guys had some maps back there of the overall watershed that you could have grabbed tonight. So all of those lines inside that green area is the regulated drain that we maintain and keep flowing. So there's lots of that work that needs to be done. So all of the open ditch needed to be cleaned, and several of the tributaries needed to be replaced. The original proposal was $200,000 a year for 5 years, and then it would lower after that 5th year to a more acceptable rate for an annual assessment, so that we could maintain the spray program, maintain the cleaning out of the ditch every 8 to 10 years, and still do some work on tiles that were broken. From that town hall, from all of your all's input, it became very apparent that we had two types of concepts gathering in the room. We had let's get it done today concept, and we had we can't afford any of that concept, which puts the watershed at quite a stretch on how do we move forward with it. So after the town hall, my staff and I, we sat down and had a long discussion of what can we do for a lesser value or to lengthen the time in which we get this work accomplished. So what we came up with is what you received in the mail is a $100,000 a year assessment increase for 5 years. That's about half of what we were originally proposed. And then after that 5 years, the annual assessment would drop down to $60,000 a year. And continue that rate as we moved forward, fixing the tiles that we did not get fixed in the first 5 years. So what Paul will go through here in a minute is what that first 5 years is going to look like, what we can get accomplished, and then after that 5 years, when we move to a normal maintenance, what that looks like on each of the tributaries. So at the town hall, we had 2 questions that were asked, and I said, I don't know, I will get you some answers. Does anybody remember what they are? I do, because I couldn't answer them, so I do remember. The first question, I don't know if the gentleman's here tonight or not, he asked a cumulative drain fund. Why can't everyone that lives in the county pay into a drain fund and those funds be used to pay for individual watersheds? And he is correct, that was an option. It is an option to go down that road, but there's some very specific details to that proposal, and I did look them up. And the main concept that I want to convey to you all that are here so that you understand, going to a cum cap fund instead of individual watersheds, it limits the amount of money that the drainage board would be able to bring in. So in other words, it's based upon a tax rate instead of a user fee. So that tax rate is set up to where we only have a maximum of 5 cents per $100 of assessed value per property owner. There is a problem between municipalities and counties. So in other words, any regulated watershed that falls within a municipality, i.e. the city of Kokomo, the city of Kokomo would also have to create that cum cap fund, because funds inside the city can only be spent inside the city, and funds outside can only be spent outside. So I did some math to try and figure out why we don't do this. And it came up that basically we would be collecting total across the entire county $1.2 million a year if we followed the tax rules and set that up and maxed everything out. That's how much we would bring in. This project alone is a little over $1 million. So you can see how that would greatly hinder us as a community trying to keep our infrastructure functioning. So that's one major problem with the cum cap fund. The other major problem with the cum cap fund is everyone in the county pays, whether you live in a regulated watershed or not. So if someone didn't live in a regulated watershed, they would be paying into it, but that drain fund could only be spent on regulated drains. So that was a major drawback to that concept. You would have people paying into it that would never receive any benefit from it because they would never have their drains worked on. And that's one of the bigger problems with that concept. So that's why Howard County did not go down that road. That's why we don't do that. We operate off of user fees and individual watersheds and individual funds. So that was that first question. The second question dealt with our spray program and the spray that we utilize in our spray program. And we utilize a Garlon product. I have received from different individuals the MSDS sheets of what they assumed was what we were using. And I'll let Paul go through some of that because he did the research on that and talked to the state chemist's office and has an answer for that.
So the product that was in question was Garlon 4 Ultra, which is a dormant stem herbicide. We do not use it. Our contractors are using Garlon 3A. It's a very different label. It's approved for use in wetlands, water, and aquatic sites. So it's a very different herbicide than what the Garlon 4 Ultra was. Many of the concerns that were highlighted in that Garlon 4 Ultra do not exist on the Garlon 3A label, just to be clear. And we did contact the state chemist asking about one thing in specific about environmental hazards. It is a blanket statement applied to a lot of herbicides that are water soluble. As long as the contractor is following the label in the way he is applying it, it can be used in wetlands and aquatic sites.
So, for those that do have concerns over our spray program, we do as well, and I wanted to make sure that I express that. We do pay attention to what we're applying, and what we are using is water labeled for our program. So we can go in more details if you have questions on any of those items. So back to that took care of the two questions that we had. I could not answer at the town hall, and I wanted to make sure I got you guys some answers on those. So what's left is the concept of us lowering this assessment over the 5 years and prolonging the assessment, because once we go to an annual maintenance of that $60,000 a year, once the assessment fund reaches 4 times that annual amount, we can shut it off. But what that's going to do is, by us lowering the 5-year collection, we're going to have to collect that lower assessment longer to continue to get work done that we can't do lacking those funds. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Paul, and he'll go through kind of like what we did at the town hall, except he's going to discuss what part of the tributary we're actually going to work on and what the 5-year program gets us to.
So the board has a map packet similar to what was distributed at the town hall on December 4th. I noticed some of you brought your sheets in with you as well. The cover sheet is a map of the watershed with 3 regulated drains inside of it. The blue lines are for the Stall Shank regulated drain and all of its tributaries. The orange line down here is for the A. Thompson tile drain, which outlets to the Stall Shank up here by Carter Street. The purple line is for the Jacob Hennefit tile, which also outlets to the stall shank drain at the open ditch. All three are regulated drains with their own watersheds and assessments, but because A. Thompson and Jacob Hennefit outlet into stall shank, their watersheds are a part of the stall shank watershed and are therefore a part of the proposed assessment. The pages that follow break down the stall shank into its open portion and the different tile tributaries, with an estimated cost for each. The first 4 pages are sections we plan to do in the initial 5-year increase. The remaining pages will be addressed as funds collect, as Greg mentioned. So the stall shank open, as you can see, our estimated cost, $211,900. As I said in the earlier section of it, there's almost 24,000 feet of open ditch. Everything from Carter Street all the way back to the bypass hasn't been touched in decades. It's pretty much wilderness north of Carter Street. If you're ever up on that way, you can look on the north side of the road. You can see trees blown over, blocking the channel, and everything else. As I said to some of you people, we've been fighting beaver dams back in this way over here. These other sections east of the bypass have been maintained. Back in 2016, there was some tornado damage that came through here that led to this getting cleaned out all the way through this section back to 300 East. And between 2005 and 2008, this section down here north of 22 going down to 300 East was cleaned out. And we've been spraying these sections every 2 years to keep the trees from coming back. As I said earlier, this is the section where the ditch was realigned here on the west side of 300 East. We put armament on it and moved the ditch about 10 feet to the west. And then if you go here east of 300 East, this has been maintained all the way down to Pumpkin Vine subdivision, or excuse me, Pumpkin Vine Meadows subdivision. But we've been battling erosion problems. We've had multiple, not complaints rather, but concerns over erosion problems through this section, so it needs attention. And then from this property line, going back further east to Rule Garden, even though this was cleaned back in 2005, it did not get put on the spray program and has since grown up. It all needs to be brushed and cleaned out again. So most of it is just going to be maintenance, cleaning up sediment that's fallen in the ditch, touching up erosion. But then we've got some other sections that are going to be expensive that need a major clean out. Now, on these tiled portions here, just to make you guys aware of it, when we draw these drain lines, it usually starts out with our drain cards that were drawn up from when the drains were first put in as court drains in the 1800s. So that's where we start with. And as we continue to do work and do locates on these drains, we update the lines from that. So what you see on the map may or may not be exactly where the drain is. Some of them we've never seen, some of them we've actually replaced. We have GPS shots off of them. So if you're aware of something that doesn't look like it should on the map, and you have better knowledge of what's actually in the ground on your property or your farm fields, we'd love to hear from you about that. But this first page on the George Shank drain, you can see the estimated cost, $167,600. That's to replace all the way from 300 East up here north of the storage buildings on down to 100 South, with the exception of what's in this woods. This section through the woods was actually fixed back in 2015. And we've been keeping it sprayed to keep the trees from growing back over the top of it. But since we've reduced our assessment to try to address major issues, at the town hall, we had some individuals talking about problems out in this area out here and over here on the west side of the road. Part of the problem is we don't know exactly where this drain crosses 400 East. So we're going to start here at the structure at the southeast corner of the woods, replace it all the way across 400 East, and hopefully that will alleviate some of the drainage problems that have been occurring over in this area. And you can see that estimated cost inside the window is at $30,000. And that's what we're going to try to accomplish on this section in the first 5 years. The next section is the Abraham Ingle tributary. Comes in off of Rule Garden Estates, crosses 100 South and 400 East, comes all the way down here to the Cannon property. This estimated cost $58,200. We do have some data on this drain coming down here almost to where it branches out in these forks. Back in, I think, was it 2018, they went through, located it, and fixed several holes all the way through this section. And we know it needs attention. We've gotten some concerns about flooding, cross flooding out in this field and this field over in here. So hopefully this will address those issues. And again, we'll get that done in the first 5 years. Amos Sutton's the next section. If you get on Beacon and you look on the 2024 aerials, you can actually see breakdowns occurring up in here. And then at the town hall, we had some landowners here at Pumpkin Vine Meadows telling us that there was major flooding every time it rained just north of the subdivision. So we can get this section of the 8-inch tile replaced in that first 5-year period, fix these holes or keep these holes from showing up again, hopefully get this low ground down here draining again. That price tag, $20,200. The next section, these are not necessarily in order of importance. These are just the rest of the sections that need attention beyond that. So Andrew Duke is just west of Amos Sutton. There's 2 outlets coming in right here behind this house, and they branch off. I don't know that they necessarily come across at this parcel over here, like it's showing. If you look at the 2015 aerials, it may actually come down across further over here. But this section needs to be addressed. At the town hall, we had some people tell us that there were wet problems right down here by this property line. Let's try to get that addressed, and hopefully that fixes that. Let's see. Next one. If I'm talking too fast, let me know. I need the feedback. Danielle Shank, estimated cost $63,000. This you don't normally see, but according to our records, this is broken up both north of the 100 South and south of 100 South. Now, this is another section where we have heard people saying that they're out there fixing their tiles every year out in this area here. I don't know if it's going to be this blue line up here on George Shank or if it's Danielle Shank down here on these larger tiles. But we know that there are problems up in here, so from the 24-inch where it crosses 400 East going down here to this subdivision, it needs to get replaced. We did hear at the town hall from this landowner down here, he's not experiencing any troubles down here. So at this point, we're not anticipating any work, but if in 5-10 years' time, by the time we get to this, it very well could be that we've got to replace that section as well.
Question. On the 24-inch section, does that feed on the south end of Real Garden? Does it feed
yes.
that way, or does it feed south?
It runs to, it outlets this direction going to the west, and yeah.
All right.
John Hessler, this one is up by the 31 bypass, State Road 22. There's 2 outlet pipes coming in here where this drain runs due north, and it comes down and branches off into Lewis Knight and John Hessler. Now, we do know that people are, at the town hall again, we got some information, people are flooding out down here on the west side of 300 East. But in 2013, this section through here was actually replaced, and we've actually battled some tree root issues back in 2022. Those trees are now gone. So we don't anticipate fighting any more tree roots at this point here. But there is an elevation issue with the private drains on the south side of 100 South that can't quite get up to the 8-inch. It's on the north side of the road. But at least we've got things flowing. Just may require some additional private work to get that done. This is a pretty big price tag right here. And I believe that's because we've got so much length in this section through here that needs to be worked on. Like this isn't just 115 up here. These, I believe, are 2 15s coming all the way down to this point before they branch out. And yeah, it's $272,300. Lewis Knight, directly east of John Hessler. This is another tributary that ties into John Hessler. Before we could accomplish it, we would have to first, work on this section north of the road to make sure that it's free flowing and got our elevations right. I know that landowners have been saying, we're flooding out here, we're flooding out here. And we do have some information from a contractor who located this for some private work. So these lines are fairly accurate on their location. Although the tile size may change to like a flat bottom 7 at this point over in here. That's $32,900. Now the next 2 sheets, we don't have a lot of information on this one, the Abraham Tea Garden. We believe we may have found it last year fixing holes up here on George Shank. We may have found this 8-inch finally, but we've not heard anything from people on this line coming down through here. So that's why on this page it says no anticipated work. That may change again, and 5 to 10 years we may start finding breakdowns or obstructions in it. And once we start replacing this George Shank through here, we'll have a better idea of where this drain actually connects to it. But at this point, no work anticipated. The next one is down at Pumpkin Vine Meadow subdivision. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, this drain was put in back in 1980 prior to the subdivision being installed. There's probably 4 of the subdivision drains. Back in 2018, they did fix several holes, 2018 through 2020, they fixed several holes through the subdivision, patching up gap leaks and regrading the dirt over the top of it. But as far as we know, this concrete tile through here is in good condition, and we do not anticipate any work at this time. We are aware that some of the subdivision drains and private drains that come to it people have been struggling with those, but it's actually outside of our scope. Our obligation is to keep the regulated drain free flowing. We're obviously willing to have conversations with people about how to address the private drainage issues, but as far as the regulated drain itself, we do not know of any problems on it presently. I can turn it back over to Greg to
All right.
make further comments and go to
So,
questions.
the last item that I want to make sure I clarify with everyone here tonight is our methodology in which how we assess. So, previously to 2006, assessments were based upon a minimum fee and a price per acre. Since 2006, we've changed our methodology because we have technology. We utilize GIS systems to where we can take every person's parcel and cookie cut that parcel with the different soil types and cookie cut that parcel with different land use types and assign factors to those products. So in other words, some soils is real sandy and water runs right through it. Some soils are heavily clay and water won't leave it. So that requires the drain to be utilized more or less. Same way with your land use. If you have a house and hard surfaces, water doesn't soak into those. So therefore, those types of land use items on your parcel increase your cost. So you will not have a price exactly like your neighbor. Every parcel is based upon its own area weighted averaging of that minimum fee, land use, and soil type. So that's why each parcel has a little bit different price tag on it if you talked with your neighbors and looked at yours versus theirs. As far as for the board and for everyone tonight, we have taken a really hard look at this watershed, trying to come up with some type of workable concept that is affordable for the entire watershed. And so that's kind of where we're at. So if we're looking at a 5-year, $100,000 assessment, it's a $50 minimum, land use and soil type, and after that 5 years, it would be lowered automatically to $60,000, and we would continue to do this work. What that first 5 years gets us in line is obviously all of the open gets cleaned up and what Paul kind of covered, and then we go into what we can get accomplished each year after that. So with that being said, I would open it up to any board member questions.
Mr. Byram had a question?
Sure.
I added these numbers up, Greg, and it came to more than 500,000. Okay. Will you explain that to the one dummy that's in the room, being me?
So it should have come up to almost $1 million. Because originally, when we first started this project, we were looking at a $200,000 annual assessment for 5 years. Okay, so that would have put us right at that $1 million mark for completion of all of the work. And then we would have switched over to an annual maintenance of somewhere around the $40,000 mark. But since we are trying to not have so much cost up front with this project, we cut that initial 5 years in half. That's your $500,000. And then the annual maintenance being lowered to $60,000 so that we have more funds there than what's needed so that we can continue to replace those tiles over the next 5 years. So we're trying to do more like a 10-year plan that I've told you time and time again that I try not to do.
Okay, so when we, like an example here, on the Amos Sutton, estimated cost $20,200, replace in the first 5 years. So is that the total cost of that?
Let me get to what page you're on. Amos Sutton. So that, that particular drain would be replaced in the first 5 years, yes.
At a cost of 20,200?
Yep, that's what we're estimating.
Okay.
And keep in mind, the numbers on these pages are our estimated numbers. So we're trying to ballpark that in over the next 5-year time period. So as prices go up and down, has anybody seen them go down? We're trying to take that into consideration.
Any other comments from the board right now? Okay, if not, we're gonna put in we're gonna tell you the way this will work here. When you come up to the microphone, we're gonna separate it into 2 different groups. If you're in favor, you can come up and speak first, and you can tell anything you wanna tell about that. And then if you're not in favor, after those people, you'll be able to do that. We do ask that you give your name and your address so that she can get that in the minutes. So anybody that would be in favor can come up to the microphone now.
What if we have questions and we don't know if we're in favor or not?
Come up and ask those first.
My name is Jeff Ely, 520 South Goyer Road. And you said a number of times, land use and soil type. So I'm just trying to understand what that means to, like me, with a 3.7 acre lot with a house on it. And you said, well, if you've got a house, it's not gonna absorb. But I've got 3.7 acres of soil, and not much of that has house on it. So I'm just trying to understand how that kind of works.
Sure. So, for better understanding, there are, I think around, well, there used to be around 40 soil types in Howard County. I think here a couple years ago, NRCS went through and added some more soil types. But each of those soil types has a description associated with it on how well it drains, okay? And based upon how well that soil description drains, there's a factor assigned to it. So if you have a Brookston soil on parcel A, and you have a Brookston soil on parcel B, when you cookie cut those parcels with that soil type, because it's not
Sure.
one soil, it's all over the place. So when you cookie cut that, parcel A and parcel B is paying the exact same area weighted averaging on that particular soil type. So that's why those are different. Same way with your land use. Now,
So that's my question though, in land use, if I had a half-acre lot, most of it would be house. I have a 3.7 acre lot, very little of it is house. So
And
am I,
that's-
because on a house, do I pay the same?
no, that's where your area weighted averaging comes in. So it's the area underneath that land use that's being assessed at that higher rate versus a woods being assessed at a lower rate. But it's the actual area on your parcel. So your house, say your house is the same size as parcel A, has the same house size as yours, you're being factored the same because the area weighted averaging is the same across the whole watershed.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. Like, thanks.
My name's Mike Stites. I live at 2315 East, 500 North, Kokomo. So I'm a farmer with my dad. can see on this page, well, on the back, these two parcels are right across the road from each other. And then I've got some yield maps. We'll do the first one here. 2025 soybean harvest. So you can see, if you put that next to the map, you can see it's pretty clear where that drain runs. I guess I should say green is good, yields really well. Yellow, red, not so well. And so we pay, for seed, chemicals, fertilizer, we pay the same amount across all of our acres. So the ones that do really well, it's good, but then when you have areas that don't drain and don't yield very well, you're still paying for those inputs, but you're not getting the yield out of it. And so if you flip it around to the other side, 2017 was also a really wet year. You can see on the corners of 300 East, both the north and the south, both of those areas were really bad. And then up through heading west, and then heading up north, following the drain, you can kind of see that area as well. So then if you go to the other side of the road, you can actually see the yield map follows the drain really well up through that one as well. So I guess I just wanted to kind of let you see the maps and show you what we're dealing with as farmers. So I'm in favor of doing this project.
Thank you.
That's very helpful.
Yeah, really is.
Any others in favor?
Good evening, Darrell Maple,
You're on.
3593 East, 400 South, Pocono, 46102. I'm representing the Maple family. We have roughly 55 acres in this watershed. We are in favor of this drain. To what Michael just said, we put in seed, chemical fertilizer on this ground every year, and these areas are being adversely affected by water, yield loss. So we're losing money on it every year, but we're trying to provide income for us and our family and for our landowners. So we would strongly encourage the board to vote in favor of this. As most of you should know, or those in the audience that don't, Howard and Tipton County were one of the last two counties formed in Indiana because we were swamps. We need drainage because we were swamps. So we have to continue to fix this. So doing nothing is the wrong answer. We have to keep moving forward. In my opinion, this assessment style, how you do the calculation of the cookie cutter, is the most fair and economical tax you will ever see, in my opinion. So, any questions? Thank you.
Darrell?
Christopher Salisbury, 5748 North, 200 West, Sharpsville. I don't know, is that working?
Yeah, you're good.
Farm on 100 South Boulevard. Been farming it for roughly 15 years, and it's gradually gotten worse on the drainage. So I definitely am in favor of this project. Seemed ambitious when you lowered the amount, but I understand that, so I am in favor of this.
Thank you.
My name's Bill Nolan. I live at 2515 East, 00 North South. Lived on that property my entire life, so I've dealt with this watershed for a long time. I'm in favor of this. Nobody wants to spend money. especially not me. I would have been in favor to do the whole thing right off, get it done. It's never gonna be cheaper. It's broke, it needs fixed, we need to do it.
Thank you. Anybody else in favor that wants to speak?
Ron Smith, 4426 East, 00 North South. I got quite a few acres in it, and it gets wetter and wetter every year and can't get it drained, so I'm like Mike and everybody said, we're losing money on everything else, fertilizer and stuff.
Thank you.
He's in favor.
My name's Richard Cannon. I live at 400 East, 1460 South. Let's get her done now because it's gonna get more expensive the longer we wait.
Thank you. Others? If not, we would hear at this time people not in favor. Okay, last chance is not in favor. Come on up.
My name's Fred Rott, 1410 Rural Meadows Court. I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. The only complaint I have is there any way we can get more information on the chemicals? And what I'm talking about is nowadays there's so much cancer going on, and most people don't realize where it's coming from. I feel if you got a chemical that's killing a tree, that's got to be some awful strong stuff. Would that cause cancer? Now, have we researched that enough? As far as your job going, great. I have no complaint. The chemical is the only thing that scares me.
The main thing that I can answer your question with is we follow the state chemist office. Their job is to oversee those chemicals and to ensure that they're being applied correctly. So we pull the labels, we follow those labels because the label's the law. When you call the state chemist office, they're going to tell you that. The label's the law. So you're following those labels. We have certified applicators, so the people that are applying it are certified to apply it. Is there a chance that any of those chemicals have a carcinogen potential to them? Absolutely, it's a chemical. But that being said, for what we're trying to accomplish, that's why we utilize what is allowable to help reduce overall cost of the maintenance of our drains. And that's why we use them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak this evening? Got one coming up and then you can go after her. Thank you.
Hi, Cassie, and I live at 1120 South Clark Street. So that's Queen Strap, that A. Thomas Street. I've lived there 30-some years, and I've never seen it drain. So where exactly is this? And like, if you work on it, like, does that mean you're ripping up everyone's yard? Or like, how does that work?
Sure. So the A. Thompson is a underground tile.
Okay.
All right, so we do a lot of removal of tree roots on that tile. So we have a machine that we auger out the tile with, but that's normally on the north side of 22s where a lot of that work takes place.
Mm-hmm.
On the south side of 22, we relocated that drain around Walgreens when that was built. So That tile actually runs just in front of the car wash. There's a couple inlets there. If you wanted to actually see the tile, you can look down in the hole and see the tile in the bottom of that hole, or water as usual. There's usually water standing in it because it's not getting away downstream.
Yeah.
So that's what's a lot of those problems. Right across from the car wash, there's a gentleman that floods out all the time because he is so low right there next to the car wash. It actually, the water has to climb up about 4 feet to get out of that hole to get past the car wash. So that tile is the only way he drains, okay? And when that tile's not draining or it's draining poorly, he stands with water for weeks on end. And that's what we are doing, is trying to keep that tile free flowing. The A. Thompson is just like the Stall Shank. It needs a lot of work. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do that work or raise the funds to do that work until we get the Stall Shank done, because I don't think it's fair for individuals in multiple watersheds like yourself. You're in two, you're in the A. Thompson and the Stall Shank, to where if we raised both of those assessments at the same time, you couldn't tolerate that. That would be a nightmare.
I know my parents can't afford it now.
Correct. So that's why the A. Thompson, the work to be done on the A. Thompson will be after the 5-year time period on the Stall Shank drops down, and we'll reassess at that time on
Okay.
collecting funds for it.
So according to this, then they're paying this maintenance fee for 5 years, and then it lowers?
It will lower, yes. It would. So right now we have it set up to where it's going to collect $100,000 across the entire watershed for those 5 years. After the 5 years, that will drop to $60,000 across the whole watershed. So your percentage would drop basically that same percentage.
And does that just continue until the end of time?
That would continue until the annual assessment reaches 4 times the amount in the fund. So in other words, if we collected $100,000, once the fund had $400,000 in it, we would shut it off and we wouldn't collect it until we spent money and it dropped below that 4 times the annual assessment, and then we turn it back on. But to answer your question, will it be collected through the end of time? The way we're setting this up is it's going to collect much longer than it would have if we would have done the $200,000. That is correct. So we're going to prolong this work and collect that $60,000 much longer than what we anticipated on collecting originally.
So if this goes through, then we're paying this
$50
like
a year, the minimum
a
fee.
year?
Yep, that's a $50 minimum fee. So you would be paying that for the next 5 years, and then that $50 minimum would continue on at the $60,000 collection rate. That is correct.
And then eventually you're gonna get to our neighborhood that floods horribly all year long?
Eventually, I would like to fix the A. Thompson drain, yes. It's going to be very expensive, and I'm just not quite there yet, is the simple answer. It's gonna be way more expensive than what we're looking at here, because
I
we're,
just know because like in our land, we have, you know, a massive garden, we have our trees, you know,
right.
things like that. So like, how does that,
If the tile runs underneath that property, it would get torn up when it's replaced. And then it gets put back in to where you could garden over it again.
like, we have like fruit trees and things like that. so,
Trees
like,
are tough. I can tell you, a lot of people don't like me because I cut trees down. If there's a tree within the canopy of the tile, so if the tree canopy can reach the tile, the root system can reach that tile. And we normally cut those trees down because that's what causes
and
this cost.
The homeowners have no say in that.
Not on the easement, no, that's correct. I mean, you have a say in it, but you're also paying for the detriment. So as, just like those tree roots north of 22, when they plug it up, you start flooding, we gotta go out and fix it. And that takes money out of that account.
Alright, I just wanted to clarify.
Sure.
Alright.
Thank you.
triggered another one. So we're getting ready to widen Goyer. Will any of that be taken care of during that time?
As far as the tile, it won't be on Stall Shank. It will be on Cannon Goyer. So, yes, during the widening process, Cannon Goyer is going to get a couple upgrades across Goyer Street.
So maybe that'll happen.
Yep.
Did you say there's 796 parcels within this,
Yes.
and they're each getting charged with minimum of $50?
Minimum.
Minimum. So here's my, I hope I don't sound any better question. We pay property taxes, income taxes, sales tax. Does not all this tax cover infrastructure? Seriously.
None. So something you can think about, and maybe some others would be better off answering this than myself, but when you look at...
It's bad, yeah.
When you look at the total pie of county revenue that comes into the government, 70% of that total dollar amount goes to our schools. So then of that 30%, 70% of that goes to our judicial system, police, fire, courts, jails, that kind of stuff. So then the rest of the county government operates on that little piece.
That's terrible.
That's how our tax system is set up.
Very good job explaining that, Greg. Thank you.
Good.
Brad Alexander, 4607 Pumpkin Vine Drive. My question is, based on some hearsay, I understand there's going to be some changes being made as far as septic systems out toward Hemlock area, down 400 East. So my question is, if that's truly happening, what are these two things tied together?
So when you ask the question of septics changing, are you talking about the forced connection into Taylor Sewer District, or are you talking about something else?
That would sound more intelligent based on what I know.
Okay, so the Taylor Regional Sewer District was created a little over 20 years ago. And where they ran their lines, they didn't force everybody to tie onto it at that time. And since that time, that entity has been operating on a shoestring and flailing along with finances and trying to keep everything running. So there is part of that statute that they can force connections within a certain distance of their lines. So they have started implementing that, and that's helping improve their finances. They've been working really hard at trying to improve some of the sewage issues.
How does that tie into Pumpkin Vine Drive?
I don't think it does.
Makes me happy.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, you're too far north for the sewer district right there. So I don't know that you would, I mean, you could petition to get sewer up there if that's was what you were wanting, but I don't know that it would have anything to do with it.
I could drive to it.
I'm happy with what I've got.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Wasn't done right to start with.
Others want to speak tonight? This is your chance.
Eric Wall, 808 South Clark Street and 125 Emery Street. I was referring back to the car wash over there that you were talking about over there off Goyer. Actually, my worker lives in that house. And from what I'm understanding is that that drain was independently owned and had to be installed by Walmart or Meijer when they built that infrastructure. So aren't they responsible for maintaining the drain on that?
Well, when we're talking about Walmart or Myers,
Whoever installed that drain, it was when they built either Meijer or they built the Walmart area up in there.
So-
And that independently was paid for by an independent person, not the city. So aren't they also obligated to maintain it?
So to answer your question, when Walmart was built, I believe they had to upgrade the A. Thompson drain through that section. So they had to pay to upgrade that drain. That is correct. But as far as the jurisdiction, it's still a regulated drain overseen by this board. and maintained by this
You're right,
board.
it gets about 4 foot deep in his backyard.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
And I usually get a phone call, and I gotta go out and take tree roots out, and it will go down. But
And then-
it's a problem.
Going back to what you said, is there more money other places? There is more money other places. Like, for instance, that whole area in our sewage bills, I went over this with him, I know it's not in there, but you know everybody on that side of the road's getting charged trash service when they're not having any trash. They were annexed in on their city sewers, they've been paying the same side as the north side, and they have not been picking up their trash for 10 years. I think they need representation, or y'all can take some of their money.
I would say they need to go to the city and have a conversation if they were
I own a
annexed
house
in.
over there now, like I said, I just bought. But then again, on both sides of the road, they're charging us $15 a month in stormwater. There's no storm drains on either side of that street. And if they are, they've been covered over. Some of that money could go to help on this project.
I understand what you're addressing. Unfortunately, stormwater is a different monster than drainage. So in other words, the county has a stormwater district as well, all right? So I oversee both of them.
Right.
So on the surveyor side of the fence, I oversee the water quantity. I make sure the water keeps flowing, all right? So that the open ditches are flowing, the tiles are flowing. The faster they flow on this side of my hand, the better, because that's what we want. We want water to get away quick. Now, when I put my stormwater hat on this side that I oversee, is we try to slow that water down because the goal is water quality. We want to keep that water clean. And that concept is at inverses. The quicker water moves, the more polluted it becomes. The slower it moves, the cleaner it is.
I've actually got a degree in wastewater treatment.
So
That was my dad.
you understand it's quite a balancing act to do both of those. But when you talk about stormwater fees, that goes to water quality, and there's 6 programs that a stormwater district operates. You understand an MS4, you're part of that. So that's what that money's for.
But what, that money on both sides of the street, when there are no storm drains, and everybody in those 2 areas are paying $15 a month, and there's no storm drains, why don't we put the money towards your drains, because there are no storm drains? That's
Right.
what I'm getting at, so there is money to be made.
I do understand that, and
That's what I meant, but
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying too. There is a lot of cost in the incline filters, the skimmers and everything else.
Sure.
But all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Others want to be heard? If not, what's the wishes of this board tonight?
I have a question for Greg. Greg, we heard from several people who said maybe we need to just do it all at once because of the cost. And it is true that cost will escalate the longer you wait. I also heard from somebody who said it's going to be expensive, can't afford it. Is there a way to do it a little faster, but not all at once? I mean, is that feasible?
I guess my response to that is, from what I heard at the town hall, and even what we've heard here somewhat tonight, is at the town hall, there was more vocal folks about the cost and their taxes and inability to cover those smaller fees than your larger landowners that are paying more of the bill that want the work done immediately. It's a fairly decent balance between the two. There is a large landowner presentation in this watershed as far as ag community, but there's also a lot of low-income houses in this watershed. So trying to be vigilant in both of those aspects, I feel like we put together the best compromise that we can put together for this watershed. Can we do it faster? Absolutely. We can pay more and do it faster, but I don't know that, I think that could be a disservice to some of our lower income folks that are in this watershed.
Well, and I appreciate that. Thank you for looking at that. So.
Other questions for Greg? If not, what's the board wishes for this evening?
I think we go ahead and proceed with HCDB 2026-01. I move for approval.
Is that a motion? Is that in the form of a
Yes.
motion, Mr. Dodd?
Yeah.
Okay,
I move for
got a
approval.
motion by Mr. Dodd,
Second.
second by who?
Already.
Second by Mr. Allery. Before we go ahead and finish the vote, I would go ahead and read the order into the minutes. Before the Howard County Drainage Board in the matter of modifying benefits and increasing assessments on the Stall Shink regulated drain. HCDB 2601, order modifying benefits and increasing assessments. Acting pursuant to IC 36-9-27-42D, the Howard County Drainage Board determined that the percentage of benefits assigned to certain tracts in the above identified regulated drain watershed should be increased. And two, proposed an increase in the annual maintenance assessment which would affect all tracts in this watershed as more particularly set forth on a schedule prepared by the Howard County Surveyor and filed in this proceeding. Following this action, the board on this date conducted a public hearing on the schedule with due notice to all affected owners, and after hearing any objection to the schedule and considering the evidence, the board now finds in orders. 1, the modified schedule is approved as submitted by the surveyor therein. 2, a copy of this order shall be mailed to each affected homeowner as required by IC 36-9-27-42D. And 3, any owner may request judicial review of this order within 20 days after receipt of this order in accordance with the said statute. So at this time we can vote, and if it's voted in, then this would be adopted and ordered on February 2nd, 2026. So I got a motion by Mr. Dodd, a second by Mr. Olery. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you all for coming out and expressing your opinions. Thank you so much.
We need to move to exit the,
And then, yeah, we need to go
move
back
to-
to
move
the
to
regular.
exit the public hearing.
Yes. And a motion by Mr. Byram. Second by Mr. Dodd. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're back to the regular drainage board. Move to adjourn. Any other business? If not,
I move for adjournment.
seconded by, motion by Mr. Byram, second by Mr. Dodd to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.